In 1973, the iconic square body pickup truck was launched and production ran for 16 years, with GM selling 7 million of the trucks. But hidden beneath the bed was a design decision that would later spark one of the biggest safety controversies in vehicle history. On these classic Chevy trucks, the fuel tanks aren't behind the axle like modern pickup trucks. They're right here, totally exposed along the outside of the frame rails, and just inches from the driver and passengers. This design decision would eventually lead to lawsuits and a federal investigation, and the outcome wasn't what most people expected. To understand why this happened, you have to go back a bit. The previous 67 to 72 Chevy trucks had the gas tank located inside the cab, but GM had actually been placing fuel tanks inside the cab since 1949. For the 73 to 87 square body trucks, GM wanted to get the tank out of the cab for obvious reasons, so GM moved the tanks to the sides of the truck on the outside of the frame. This design became known as side saddle fuel tanks. The next generation OBS trucks had the fuel tank inside the frame rails, even though the fuel tank controversy happened after square body production stopped. This change made it seem like GM knew there were problems with the tank location while working on the OBS. If you like OBS trucks too, I've got a full video breakdown comparing OBS and MBS trucks if you want more info. And at the end of this video, I'll show you the 4 different fuel tank options and 6 reasons why relocating your tank might make sense beyond just safety. Let's take a closer look at the different square body tank layouts and options. The side saddle tank locations on trucks allowed for optional dual factory fuel tanks. Short bed trucks came standard with a 16-gallon tank with an option for dual 16-gallon tanks. Long bed trucks got a 20-gallon tank or dual 20-gallon tanks for a total of 40 gallons. Many speculate that for marketing reasons, GM wanted to offer this 40 gallons of fuel capacity, which would have been the most capacity of any truck in its class at the time. But there was no place to mount a tank that big, so the twin 20-gallon tanks, each about 5 feet long, were both mounted in the only place where there was room, outside the frame, with one tank mounted on each side of the truck. But owners quickly discovered a downside. At the gas station, you had to fill one tank, then reposition the truck to fill the other. What do you think of this dual tank option? Would you want it? Do those that have it actually use it? Let us know in the comments. It's important to note that not every GM full-size vehicle used this setup. The K5 Blazer and Chevy Suburban did not have the side saddle gas tanks. They had tanks in the rear between the frame rails and behind the axle. Later in the video, I'll show you how big those Blazer and Suburban tanks are and why many owners swap them into pickups. It's a great way to add fuel capacity while addressing this safety shortfall. If you know someone who owns one of these trucks or is thinking of getting one, please send them this video. It really helps support the channel and keeps more videos like this coming. So for years, these trucks were trusted workhorses, but by the late 80s and early 90s, the perception started to change. Federal investigators and safety researchers started noticing issues with the gas tank's vulnerability in side impact collisions. But how dangerous is this design, and did it actually affect safety? Here's what the data shows. One of the most cited figures comes from the Fatality Analysis Reporting System, a federal crash database. It estimates over 2,000 deaths in fire-related crashes between 1973 and 2009. But that number is spread across millions of trucks and decades of driving, so the risk to any individual owner seems relatively low. For context, around 40,000 people die in car accidents in the US each year, more than 100 per day. But at the time, some investigators were claiming the rate of deaths was 20 times the rate of the infamous Ford Pinto rear gas tank. The Center for Auto Safety reported over 1,800 fatalities between 73 and 2000 in crashes involving both side impact and fires, and pushed for a recall. But a study by Failure Analysis Associates found only 155 fatalities in these GM trucks between 73 and 89. This number is low as they attributed most deaths to the force of the collision and only 155 to explosions or fires. In 1993, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration claimed that occupants of these trucks were about 4 times more likely to die in a fire following a side impact crash compared to similar Ford or Dodge pickups. But GM responded that the trucks met all federal safety standards in place at the time, including 15 and 20 mile an hour side impact crash requirements. So what can you actually do about this on your truck? There are a few smart ways to fix this. That's coming up. It's important to note this controversy didn't fully start until the early 1990s, years after these trucks had already gone out of production. Critics argued the tank's location made the truck super dangerous in side impact collisions, but the tanks themselves were tested and were actually very strong, exceeding safety standards of the day. Some claim GM likely recognized the risk of this tank location and compensated by making the tanks especially strong. This whole issue gained national attention through multiple lawsuits as well as regulatory scrutiny. But a major turning point came in November of '92 when Dateline NBC aired a TV segment showing a square body truck bursting into flames during a crash test. This footage shocked viewers and damaged public perception of the trucks, but the story took a dramatic turn when it was revealed that the test had actually been rigged. NBC had used hidden incendiary devices and manipulated the test to ensure a fire and explosion. Investigations of the crash later discovered that the tank in the test crash didn't even break open. GM, of course, sued NBC, and the case was settled quickly, and NBC was forced to issue a public apology on TV. The NBC scandal seemed to damage the credibility of some critics, perhaps even shifting public opinion towards GM. At one point, though, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration considered recalling as many as 4.7 million trucks. But even within the agency, there were disagreements about how to proceed. GM continually refused to issue a recall, arguing the vehicles met all federal safety standards. The Secretary of Transportation made a final decision and decided not to order a recall and instead negotiated a settlement. GM was to pay $51 million. As part of the deal, owners were issued $1,000 rebates towards the purchase of a new vehicle, with the rest of the money to be spent on safety programs. This agreement did nothing about the remaining side saddle pickups described by some consumer advocates and victims' lawyers as the most dangerous vehicles from a fire risk standpoint ever produced. But part of the settlement decision was based on legal terms. You see, time was on GM's side. Under federal law, manufacturers can't be forced to recall vehicles that are older than 8 years. And by the time this was all going down, that would mean that only the few final years of their trucks would have been eligible for a recall. Regardless, over the years, GM reportedly settled more than 300 lawsuits related to these truck fires, totaling around $600 million. So was the tank location a serious safety flaw or something overblown? Let me hear what you think in the comments. Even though the data is often debated, I believe putting tanks in this location was and is a legit safety issue. For those of you who want to do a tank relocation, there are actually 6 good reasons to do so beyond the safety issue. Number 1, the rear-mounted Blazer tank holds 25 gallons versus the short bed 16, and you can pretty easily swap the Blazer tank in. And if you have a long bed truck, you can actually add a 31-gallon or 40-gallon tank from the Suburban. Number 2, if you want to do an LS swap someday, or you're in the process of doing an LS swap, you can get a tank that is ready to accept an electric fuel pump system. Number 3, you can also install a tank that has baffles or a fuel sock that helps prevent fuel starvation when driving aggressively or off-roading. And 4, these old trucks are already very front heavy, so moving some weight to the rear can help with acceleration traction. Number 5, relocating the tank can allow you to remove the fuel doors, which some people claim looks cleaner. Number 6, if your current tank or tanks are already rusty and need replacement, then you may as well relocate and get all these other benefits. If this video taught you something you didn't know, please hit the like button and consider subscribing so you don't miss the next deep dive like this. The best thing to do though with your square body truck is to LS swap it, and my LS Swap Survival Guide ebook can help. It's 250 pages. Every item in a swap has a dedicated page in this ebook. It will save you money too, as I explain which parts are worth replacing or upgrading and which are not. And don't spend days searching dozens of websites and videos for a solution. Just use my book. Complicated topics are made simple: wiring, sensors, fueling, tuning, and more. If you've seen my videos, you know I have an amazing ability to simplify complex topics. And I've spent already 1,000 hours so far on this ebook, and that will make your swap much faster and easier. And this is the only LS swap book that has links to parts and how-to videos. I've already searched and found the best videos so you don't have to. Once downloaded, you can save this book anywhere, your phone, computer, or tablet. You can even print it out. Once you buy it, you own it. It's a PDF file, simple and easy to use, no password required. Email it to your friends, no problem. Split the cost with the friends, no problem. And unlike a paperback book that you buy and it never gets improved, this ebook is and will be regularly updated. But the best part is those future updates are always free and they're updates for life. No need to resubmit an order. No need to go to my website or email me or repay. I just email the updated ebook to you as soon as it's completed. This, of course, is the one big benefit for buying your own copy. Order now at autoguild.com, or if you're watching on TV, you can use your phone with this QR code. A link is also down in the description of this video. I also have an ebook and videos on how to swap a modern 8-speed automatic transmission into any classic car. This transmission is new and the same size as GM's 4-speed transmission, but it has 8 speeds and holds 700 horsepower in stock form and fits in any front-engine rear-wheel drive car. This is another swap that's absolutely taking off right now. These transmissions are super common and easy to swap since they come in modern Chargers, Challengers, Wranglers, Grand Cherokees, etc. Most people don't even know about this swap yet. And this transmission is actually totally bulletproof. Some are running 1,000 horsepower through this stock. And if you've got a square body and live in a smog-regulated state, you cannot modify your engine, but you can swap this transmission, and because of its gearing, it will make your truck faster. Swappers report it feels like adding 50 to 100 horsepower, and if you don't believe me, search it for yourself. ɡild is bringing you the best and newest car mods. No other swap book exists for this transmission. Buy it now and take your ride to the next level. Have a vehicle that overheats? This new brushless cooling fan technology can help. You may not have heard of it because it's only been popular since 2010. You can swap these fans for a fraction of the cost of an aftermarket fan, and these fans are super powerful. My book has different size fans and explains how to buy each one, whether you want new or used. Installation, mounting, and wiring is all explained in this book too.